So?
No, Negan did not turn into a short order cook. That was just JDM's cameo in the opening scene of Bloody X-Wound. What is this genre-bending movie all about? And is it worth a watch? Hi there, it's Micha. Join me for this review if you like to find out. Clover Falls is a peculiar place. The town has more murders than any other place in the USA. The reason is simple. It is the home of several serial killers, similar to those you know from slasher movies. And here, their deeds are mysteriously captured on video.
You see, in my town of Clover Falls, real-life massacres have been put on tape and packaged for decades.
Most victims are teenagers from the local high school, which understandably makes them live in constant fear. That, however, is a worry that Abby, our lead character, doesn't share with her peers. Also for a simple reason.
And while some dads fix toilets, my dad terminates teens.
Quite the contrary, actually, as she is interested in joining the family business and sneaks out at night to get some practice. Though so far her efforts were less than successful. Something that her father, being a surprisingly loving dad, isn't supportive about. So when he spotted her in the background of a movie, he wasn't too happy.
I don't want to see that little wolf, whomever it might be, in any more films. Got it?
Got it.
However, as he isn't getting any younger, he has to bring in someone to eventually take over the franchise. Which, to Abby's dismay, is not her, but the guy working in their family-owned video rental store. But her father has a pretty good reason for that.
It's because I'm adopted, isn't it?
Sweetheart, of course not. It's because you're a girl.
What?
Not for sexist reasons though, but because the genre usually demands the killer to be bulky and menacing, and Abby just doesn't fit that bill. Seeing her disappointment though, he lets her tag along for his current kill.
Rule 1, work fast, get out.
But there, after doing his job, he dies from a heart attack. And after being once more resurrected, he doesn't even manage to dig himself out of his grave. Then, when his elected successor turns out to be a clumsy dope that ends up killing himself on his first assignment, Abby finishes the job.
Please don't kill me.
So her dad agrees to let her take over.
May your slashes be swift and sure, and may your success know no bounds, Dad.
As part of a killer's role is to stalk their targets, and she easily fits in at school, she goes undercover, posing as a student. But getting to know her victims up close and personal turns out to be problematic, as Abby starts to realize that maybe she is on the wrong side of the story. Let's stop the synopsis here and start by saying that overall I liked this movie, even though I did expect something slightly different. There were also some detractors, so I also wasn't jumping up and down about this movie. What I clearly liked was the premise of showing us the world of a slasher movie through the lens of a killer. Something that is almost never done. It reminded me a lot of one of the most underappreciated horror movies of the 2000s, Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. If you haven't seen that one yet, make sure to put it on your to-watch list. A nice addition to this change in perspective is also Abby's next door neighbor Glenn, a dry cleaner who keeps handling their bloody wardrobes under the promise of getting a small part in one of the movies.
The last time I took your dad's clothes, I found a big toe in one of the machines.
I'll even see if I can get you some screen time in the next release.
Really?
I also enjoyed the many references to other slasher and serial killer movies.
Sorry, Grandma.
And them playing around a lot with the usual slasher tropes, like in this scene when Glenn actually made it into the movie.
This place is cursed. Leave now while you still can.
And of course, being a horror fan and gore hound, I appreciated the well-made and totally over-the-top gore effects in the kill scenes of this movie, which I edited down for this review to not spoil you, so just trust me on that. Most critics called out two things about this movie. The first one being the solid acting performances, and I do agree on that. it is a strong cast. With Billy Burke as Daddy Bladecut, who you most likely know as Bella's dad from the Twilight movies, though I guess that is not much of a recommendation. Sari Arambulu and Eddie Levy as Abby and Glenn, who both previously worked together in the TV show AP Bio in supporting roles. Angel Theory, who had a larger role as Kelley in the later seasons of The Walking Dead. And Molly Brown, who currently stars as Dexter's sister Deborah in the prequel series Dexter Original Sin. So no issue on that side of things. And the production value, cinematography and the effects as mentioned also don't disappoint. The other thing critics called out was the fact that for their taste, the movie leaned too much into slapstick, with which I don't agree, as I didn't really perceive it that way and I'm not even sure which scenes they meant. I guess the closest one I remember would be this.
Who's working the store?
How's it going?
Or maybe the effects that were often so over the top that they were funny. But who knows? Which brings me to the detractors I mentioned before and my expectations. Because I actually expected that movie to be more of a comedy as it turned out to be, slapstick or no. The movie became a little bit more serious along the way and focused more on a developing love story, which changed the mood quite a lot. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it was unexpected, noticeably slowing down the pace and tuning down the fun and horror aspects of the premise. No total showstopper though. The other big detractor for me was the setup around the killings, which was unnecessarily convoluted. So Daddy receives a high school yearbook with some kids marked in circles. Kids that apparently deserve to die due to the usual slasher rules.
She's promiscuous? She's crass? She abuses drugs?
The kills are then magically caught on tape and shipped to their video store to be rented there, making the store being profitable one of the main motivators for Daddy to do his deeds.
Can't we postpone the release date?
The store won't survive another setback.
By trying to explain things, they actually overcomplicated the plot and raised more questions instead. Where are the orders coming from and why are those films only showing up in the shop and not on the big screen? Even weirder, why are the movies available on TV with no one recognizing the victims? The killers just considering it their job would have sufficed. Would have been as funny without any explanations required. No need for any videos, he could just have known from prowling which teenager has to die according to his rules. And speaking of killers, no other killer was ever shown or mentioned in this movie except for Jeffrey Dean Morgan's cameo as Butch Slater. My best guess is that they, by coincidence, got him to appear in the movie, and that was the only reason they even introduced the concept of several killers. Also unnecessary was the fact to make Abby his adopted daughter. That didn't further the story and only opened up questions as to where he got her. Was she the daughter of a victim? It wasn't addressed. It would have made the story, at least for me, even more interesting if she was his biological daughter. They could then also have introduced her mother or at least her backstory. Imagine the killer and one of his potential victims falling in love with each other. That would have added even more weirdness. Well, I guess it all lies in the eyes of the beholder. And with that being said, let's get to the rating. As I mentioned in the review part, I overall liked this movie. It presented solid acting, gory and properly made effects, all done practically mind you, and good technical merits. The tempo slowed down a little bit in the middle and there were some things I wished they would have done differently, but the film was still very entertaining. I'm placing it at 6.5 out of 10 points with a slight upwards tendency. If you like gore and horror movies that walk a slightly different path, then give this one a go. What about you? Do you like genre-bending movies? Can you enjoy movies where you follow the villain on their journey? Have you seen this movie and agree with my callouts? Whatever you like to share, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share or subscribe. So much for now, see you next time, and thanks for watching. Then, when his elected success and the production value, cinematography, and focused more on the developing love story, which changed the mood. And Molly Brown, who currently stars as Dexter's sister. Mother.